that I've done this. This is straight out of the student textbook. This is on page 140. And we're going to talk about the difference between parallel lines and skew lines. And you need to know that we work a lot with parallel lines. There's not a lot you can do with skew lines, but you need to know what it means to be skew. And you need to, again, know notation of how to state that two things are parallel or not. I think probably notation is the most important part of what you're going to see. And we need to know the notation in terms of symbols, but we also need to know what the notation looks like in terms of a picture or in terms of a diagram. First off, in order for lines to be parallel, they have to be coplanar. This is on page 140 in your textbook. What does it mean to be coplanar? They're on the same plane. So you can see that we're using that definition that we talked about earlier this year here. So they have to be on the same plane, and they also have to not intersect. In other words, they're not going to run into each other. And these two lines that are right next to each other, they almost look like absolute value lines, but when they put them right next to each other, that symbol means parallel to. So here it says line AE is parallel to line BF. It tells you two things about line AE and line BF. It tells me they're coplanar because they have to be on the same plane. It also tells me that they're never going to what? They're never going to intersect. It says AE is parallel to BF, and if you'll notice, they've put a little arrow on it. Does everybody see the little arrow on the line? Sometimes you'll see them as a filled-in arrow, like this, and sometimes you'll see an arrow like this. It depends on the notation, the way the book company actually does it. It says AD is parallel to BC. Again, it tells me two things. AD and BC are on the same plane. They're coplanar. AD and BC will never intersect. And notice, instead of having just one little arrow on it this time, they put how many arrows on it? They put two arrows on it. And they've put two arrows on it showing that these two lines are parallel, but obviously they're not parallel to the other two that are there. Everybody understand the concept of being parallel? Okay. Skew lines. Non-coplanar. In other words, they're not what? They're not on the same plane. And they're also not parallel and do not intersect. So, a pair of skew lines, if you look at where AB is going this way. Any line that's going the same direction as that one in this figure would be parallel to it. And even though HG looks like it's on a different plane, you could literally pass a plane through the diagonal and it would create another plane. You could connect AH, G, and B together and form a plane. So AB and HG would be parallel. But they said AB and CG are skew. AB is on the front part of this box. CG is on the back side of the box. They're definitely in two different planes, but they're never going to what? They're never going to intersect. So, skew lines in the classroom. A line in the front corner, created by the corner, right? Everybody see it? This line right here. And any line that's going this way on the ceiling, they would be what? Not parallel, they'd be what? Skew. They're not on the same plane. They're not going to intersect. The only ones that would intersect are the ones that are forming the two planes that created that line in the first place. Now, mathematically, the only thing that's important to know about skew is its definition. We can't work with skew lines. They don't have any unique properties. So really, the only thing you need to know is what it means to be skew. Parallel planes are planes that don't intersect. So you'll notice here they said plane ABCD, and they've kind of shaded it in yellow here. ABCD is parallel to plane EFGH. In other words, these two planes would go on and on forever, and they would never intersect. A concept of parallel planes in the classroom would be the floor and the ceiling, the front wall and the back wall. Everybody good? Okay. On page 141 then, you should see this diagram. They've actually got some problems worked out. For part A there, it says which segments are parallel to segment AD. So look at segment AD that's going across here. What segments can you see that are parallel to AD? So I could write AD is parallel to, somebody want to say one? EH, I buy that. AD is parallel to EH. Yep. BC. There actually is one more. Anybody see the other one?
Oh, FG.
It is FG, although again, it looks like they might not be on the same plane. You could pass a plane down through this diagonally and create that. And notice that I marked each one of these with a single arrow showing that these are all what? Parallel to each other. Part B, explain why FE and CD are not skew. Here's FE. And here's CD. Why are they not skew? They are coplanar. And not only are they coplanar, they don't intersect, so they're also what? Parallel. They are parallel. Okay.
So what would be the skew lines on that?
There's lots of them. AE would be, let's go to the FE. Let's say FE. FE would be skew to AD. It would be skew to BC. It would be skewed to HD. It would be skewed to CH. It wouldn't be skewed to AE. Why?
They intersect.
They intersect and they're also on the same plane.
So if it's like above it or like diagonal from it?
It's got to be above or below. In other words, not on the same plane. And it better not be going the same direction, because if it's like this one, it's going the same direction, a plane does exist that actually would contain both of them. Okay? So it says, what's another pair of parallel lines? So to make this so that we're not using the same ones, let's say that I stated AE. What's parallel to AE?
BH.
You said BH, and I disagree.
BH.
DH would be parallel to it. What else would be parallel to it?
CG.
Segment CG would be parallel to it. And BF would be parallel to it. What are...
It says parallel planes, not parallel.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It says name another pair of parallel planes. I named lines. Very good. That's what happens when you don't read well, huh? Parallel planes. A, B, C, D. What's parallel to it? E, F, G, H. By the way, how many points should I really name a plane with? 3. The reason they use 4 here is because this does dead end. It's not a continuing line. So it is in a cube or a rectangular prism, so they're naming it with 4 points. I could use A, B, E, F. Would be parallel to what? D, C, G, H. And there would be one more pair that I could use. I could use A, D, H, E, and what? B, C, G, F. There would be 3 sets of parallel planes. Okay? 2 segments parallel to D, C, G, H. Here's D, C, G, H. What are 2 segments that are parallel to it? AB would be one of them. And what's the other one? EF. Everybody understand the concept of parallel lines, parallel planes, and what it means to be skew? Okay. Page 141 then. A transversal is a line that intersects 2 or more coplanar lines at distinct points. So, this line that's here, line T, is a transversal because it intersects L and M at 2 distinct points. And they're all on the same plane. They're all coplanar. When you have a transversal, it creates kind of 2 unique parts. It creates an interior between the 2 lines, but it also creates an exterior, things that are on the outside of the lines. And then we're going to talk about the relationship that the angles that you see labeled here are. Everybody understand, though, what a transversal is. It's got to intersect at least 2 lines that are on the same plane. And again, this definition you can find on page 141 of your textbook. Everybody good? Okay. I want you to understand that you don't necessarily need to, as you're doing this in your notes, you don't need to redraw the picture. Every picture is exactly the same. But we're going to talk about unique angle pairs that are created. Alternate interior angles. And the nice thing about this section is it tells you exactly what you're looking for. If I was looking at interior angles, I'd be talking about 4, 3, 5, and 6. To be alternate means that they're changing sides of the transversal. So angle 4 and angle 6 are an example of alternate interior angles. Angle 3 and angle 5 are a pair of alternate interior angles. And notice it says that they're not adjacent. That way I know that I'm not talking about angle 4 and angle 3. That not only are they on opposite sides of the transversals, they're on opposite lines that the transversal is crossing. One is created by line L and one is created by line M. So they're alternate interior. 4 and 6 are on the inside, both on the interior, but they're on alternate sides of the transversal. So the name kind of makes sense. Same side interior. Again, it tells me that I'm on the interior, so I'm not going to use 1, 2, 8, or 7. I've got to be using 4, 3, 5, and 6. And same side means that they're on the same side of the transversal. 3 and 6, both on the interior, but on the same side of the transversal. Likewise, 4 and 5. They're on the interior, but they're on the same side. Question on what it means to be alternate interior or same side interior. And again, the name kind of tells us what we're looking at. And today we're simply going to be identifying angle pairs. Tomorrow we'll be looking at what happens with alternate interior angles if L and M happen to be parallel. Pretty good? Can I go to the next one? Still on page 142. Corresponding angles hold the same corresponding place. They lie on the same side of the transversal, but in corresponding positions. In other words, if you look at angle 1, you'll notice that it's on the top of the line, but it's on the left side of the transversal. Angle 5 is on the top of the line and the left side of the transversal. 1 and 5 are corresponding. 4 and 8 are on the bottom and the left, so they're also corresponding. 2 and 6 are on the top and the right. 3 and 7 are on the bottom of the lines in the right side of the transversal. In corresponding angles, you'll notice that there are 4 different pairs that can be named, but on the others, there are only 2 pairs that can be named. The other angle type that we're going to talk about is alternate exterior. Again, it tells me exterior means that I'm dealing with 1, 2, 8, and 7. They're on the outside of the lines. Alternate means that we're going to be on opposite sides or alternate sides of the transversal. So 1 and 7. They're both on the outside, but they're on alternate sides of the transversal, so they're alternate exterior angles. Likewise, so are 2 and 8. Not 1 and 2, although they're on alternate sides, they are adjacent and they have to be non-adjacent angles. So there are 4 angle types that we're talking about today. Alternate interior. They're on the inside, opposite sides of the transversal. Same side interior. They're on the inside and the same side of the transversal. Corresponding. You'll notice one's on the outside, one's on the inside. It's the only group that's doesn't say interior or exterior. But they hold the same corresponding spot. Top left, 1 and 5. Top right, 2 and 6. Alternate exterior, they're on the outside, opposite sides of the transversal. So 4 different angle types that we're talking about today. Questions so far? Okay. So let's skip, we've talked about parallel plane skew segments. Let's skip 1, 2, and 3. Number 4, down here, it's on page 143. You can look at the figure that's there. A pair of alternate interior angles. 3 and 2, that would be one of the pairs. Angle 3 and angle 2 would be one pair. 8 and 6 would be the other pair. 8 and 6, 3 and 2. Same side interior. Same side interior. Angle 6 and angle 2 would be good. And the other pair would be 3 and 8. How many angle pairs are we going to be able to list for corresponding? We should be able to label 4. What's corresponding to angle 1? Angle 3 is corresponding. What's corresponding to angle 7? Angle 6 is corresponding. Angle 8? Angle 5 is corresponding. And angle 2 would be angle 4. Alternate exterior. 1 and 4 would be one pair. And the other pair would be angle 7 and angle 5. Everybody okay with naming alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, same side interior? Then your assignment today is out of your workbook. It's page 59 and 60. Please omit these 5 questions. They are just identifying, so they really, it may seem like a lot of questions, but they really shouldn't take you that long to name the pairs.